What up guys, it's T the nappy-headed jojoba, and I wanted to talk to you guys today about quitting sugar. Since we've been talking more about fitness and nutrition and things on my channel a lot lately, namely because of the 12 Days of Fitness challenge, but as well just because I've been doing more videos and you guys have been learning more about me and learning the things that I do eat and the things that I don't eat. The number one thing that I do my best to avoid throughout the year is sugar. I also want to make it clear that when I say I don't eat sugar, I'm also not using sugar substitutes. I don't eat any sort of aspartame or equal stevia, none of that crap. I just live without it. When it comes to artificial sweeteners and sugars, it's really a pick your poison situation. Neither one is great for you. And if I'm going to have something sweet, you can bet your ass I'm going to pick something made with sugar because at least that's sort of a real thing that came from the planet and not from a lab. The main reason I eat the way I do is I just like to pick foods that are actually promoting health instead of tearing my health down. It's pretty much as simple as that. And I don't think it takes a rocket surgeon to know that sugar is not promoting health. Excessive consumption of sugar promotes bad insulin responses, it creates hormonal imbalances, and the chemical versions of sweeteners, Splenda and stevia and all that crap, none of that's good for you either because a lot of the long-term effects of those aren't even known. And then for the ones that are known, we generally know that they've caused cancer in lab rats, so it's kind of a no-brainer. And I've noticed a lot of you guys in the comments have been mentioning you have trouble quitting sugar yourself, you're having trouble cutting it out, things like that. Quitting sugar can be really challenging, especially when you're used to having it every day. Unfortunately, the way most foods are made in our country, there's going to be added sugar in tons of things where it doesn't even belong in the first place. And because most of us have just been living this way for years, we don't realize how addicted we've actually become to sugar. At the same time, I don't think I really need to get into why sugar is bad for you. I think we all realize that sugar is not great for you, it's pretty unhealthy, and it's generally something that we could all stand to avoid. Sugar isn't necessarily crazy unhealthy in small amounts, and in fact we need glucose for brain function, but we're getting bombarded with sugar to the point that we're actually going well over what's considered a recommended maximum daily amount. And when you think about the maximum daily amount of sugar that's recommended, that isn't to say that you need that much sugar. That's just saying that's the most that you would want to have if you're going to have any sugar in your diet. Now, just to be clear, I'm talking about added sugar primarily. These are foods that had sugar added into them, whereas, if we're talking about something like fruit, that's not added sugar, that's fructose that naturally occurs within the fruit. One of you guys even asked me in the comments if I eat fruit, and as a matter of fact I do, I love fruit, but because I am trying to lose weight and cut, I'm trying to avoid how much fruit I eat. I really like fruit and I can tend to go overboard, so if I do eat fruit, I try to pick fruits that are lower in sugar like berries or apples, and I try not to eat them too late in the day when I'll be having very little to no activity. So let's talk about ways you can cut sugar out of your diet. I really think the smartest and most likely to have success approach is to do it incrementally. If you're someone who consumes a lot of sugar on a daily basis, it's not a good place to be, but you also aren't going to have success if you just try to go cold turkey, for lack of a better phrase. I would pick one or two things that have a lot of sugar in them and cut them out. So if you're eating a lot of sugar or drinking a lot of sugar, pick one or two things first and start with just cutting those out. If you drink a lot of sodas, cut out sodas, and maybe even do that incrementally. If you're drinking 3 sodas a day, cut it down to 1 and then eventually down to none. Sodas are just one of those things that really no one needs to be drinking. It's such a waste of calories. It's doing no good for you. So while it is really intellectually easy to understand, hey, sugar's not good for me, I should stop eating it, it's a lot easier said than done. In my experience, and I know in the experiences of a lot of my friends and family who I've talked to, the more you have this stuff, the more you want it. But conversely, the less you have it, the less you want it. If you can get past those struggles of cravings, you're able to get through to the other side and you really just don't think about it anymore. At least that's the way it's been for me. When I'm not having crappy foods, I don't really think about them that much. I'm actually a little bit nervous because I know I'm going to let loose on my diet a little bit when I'm on vacation, and it's almost not even worth it because I feel fine not having those foods now, but once I do have them, I feel like I'm going to slip back into craving them again. But I do have a workaround for that, and that's usually why I do my little detoxes. You guys heard me mention my little 3-day cleanse that I did at the beginning of our December fitness challenge, and that is my way of resetting things so that I can kind of cut those cravings, get over the hump, and get back to feeling normal again, where I just don't really think about eating cookies and cake and stuff all the time. So yes, I get it. It's true. It's hard when you're used to being able to eat what you want, and that might mean having a donut because they're at the office and they're free, or, just going out and getting dessert after after dinner, that kind of stuff. I get it. When that's your lifestyle, it's hard. It's hard to stop living that way. To tell the truth, when I was finally getting off sugar for, you know, a long-term kind of consistent, this is the way I'm gonna live kind of thing, essentially to get to living the way that I live my life now, I was white knuckling it for a while, you know. It was really just like day to day, like I just gotta be strong. You're breaking an addiction, you really are. I mean, sugar really does affect our brains. It creates these serotonin releases, and there's these sort of pleasure feelings that are cleaved to your experience of eating cookies from your favorite bakery or whatever it is. And it takes a while to train your brain not to tell you to do that anymore. I say all of this to say don't be discouraged and to make sure that any changes you make are gradual and incremental. You will backslide, we all do, I do, and you just have to keep going forward. If it's 2 steps back, make sure it's 3 steps forward. I'm gonna do a video where I talk about the 4 things that I tend to avoid, which, as I've said many times, are sugar, dairy, grains, and soy. Just kind of going through each one, why I don't eat it, when I stopped eating it, and how quitting those food groups have benefited me and so forth. I'm gonna do another video more on that, but I noticed a lot of you guys talking about sugar in particular in the comments, so I thought that it would be worth talking about this and just giving you guys some encouragement, because this is the toughest time of year, I would say, to be trying to cut back or cut out sugar. And I'm with you. Alan Cosgrove, who's a fitness guru who I came to know about through the internet a few years ago, he says one of his catchphrases is something brilliant, and I've abided by this for years. He says, "Don't worry so much about what you eat between Christmas and New Year's. Worry about what you eat between New Year's and Christmas." I just think that's so brilliant, and it really sums it up. I don't expect any of us to go through the rest of our lives without having another piece of cake. I think a more realistic way to live is to aim to do your best most of the time. And most of the time, 60% not cutting it, 70% not really good enough. But if you're eating clean, 85% of the time to 95% of the time, you're doing pretty freaking great. But before you get to that 95%, you're gonna have to get to 65, you're gonna have to get to 75, you're gonna have to get to 85, and be okay with being on your way and not being at the final destination yet. So if you slipped up during our fitness challenge and you had something you shouldn't have had to eat or whatever the case may be, don't worry so much, just look forward, not backward. I'm actually just getting back from my company holiday luncheon. I'll insert some footage of my outfit just so you guys can see what I wore to the party, by the way, just because I ended up actually not wearing the dress that I had showed you guys in my lookbook a few weeks back because I changed my mind. Simple as that. I am not turned up, for the record. Even though it was an open bar, I did not have any drinks. So that's a pretty good case in point because, you know, beer and wine, that's sugar, by the way. So I do tend to stay away from those. And if I'm going to drink, I try to have a more low sugar option, and I try to do so in moderation. I used to be a bit of a party girl, and it's been quite an adjustment to start drinking so much less. But now when I do, it doesn't take much. I'm a very cheap date. And I'm still able to enjoy myself on far less alcohol, so it's actually been kind of win-win. I think the key is that I didn't give up something I enjoy. I love to have cocktails and be social and just have fun. So now when I do, it's a lot more enjoyable and more meaningful. I think the same applies to anything else that you're trying to cut out of your life that you still want to partake in here and there. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of encouragement because I do understand that it's hard and I'm struggling with you. It's day by day, but you just have to stay vigilant. It's a full-time job. I'm almost certain I've said this in one of my other videos before, but this really does encompass my entire philosophy on fitness and health. Your fitness and your health and your weight, basically it's a million little decisions that add up to one big decision. And you can always have that carrot on the stick, so to speak. In my case, it's a beignet on a stick. And knowing that I'll be able to relax for a few days, enjoy myself, and then get right back to work after that, that's comforting because it's like, look, I know it's not like I'm never going to have sugar ever again, but I also don't need it. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm gonna tell you that now.